Hey Reddit, long-time lurker, first-time poster. I need to share this story with someone, because even now, I can't believe what I've gone through in the past few months. Maybe some of you can relate. Maybe some of you have advice. Or maybe this will just be an entertaining read for your lunch break. Anyway, let's dive into the mess that became my life. Let me set the stage. I've been married to Jane for 11 years. It was the usual storybook romance. We met in college, experienced a whirlwind romance, and after graduation, with all the hope and naivety of a young couple, we decided to tie the knot. Fast forward a few years, and we're blessed with our son, Mike. He's an imaginative little guy, always coming up with wild stories about his toy dinosaurs, going on space adventures, or his teddy bears, holding secret council meetings in the depths of his closet. You get the picture. Now, I've always had a demanding job. Long hours, occasional weekends, but it paid the bills and kept our small family comfortable. Jane, on the other hand, worked part-time and spent the rest of her time being an amazing mom to Mike. Or so I thought. With my work schedule, I'd often come home late, sometimes even after Mike had gone to bed. I won't lie, the weight of the guilt about not spending enough time with my family, especially Mike, was something I constantly grappled with. But Jane was always understanding, assuring me she and Mike were just fine, urging me to focus on the bigger picture, our future, our dreams. One day, I'm sitting at my desk, drowning in a sea of spreadsheets and deadlines, when my phone buzzes with a call from Mike's school. Apparently, he was feeling sick, and they asked if I could pick him up. Seeing it as a rare opportunity to spend time with my boy, I quickly wrapped up my work and headed out. I decided to surprise Mike and Jane by grabbing some ice cream on the way home. Mike loves the mint chocolate flavor, while Jane has a soft spot for anything with caramel. As I was driving, all I could think of was the delight on their faces, especially Mike, who'd be ecstatic about the unexpected treat. But as I pulled into our driveway, something felt off. Mike's school bag, which I usually found thrown haphazardly on the living room couch, was neatly placed by the door. Weird, but not alarming. I called out for Jane, but the house echoed with an unsettling silence. As I made my way to the kitchen, a chilling sensation crawled up my spine. You know that uncanny feeling you get as if you're being watched. That's what I felt. And then, from the corner of my eye, I caught a brief movement upstairs. As I cautiously made my way up, what I heard next was something no husband ever wants to hear. Hushed whispers, faint giggles, and another man's voice. The pieces were starting to come together, but I refused to believe it. Not Jane. Not us. Before I could process anything further, Mike, looking bewildered, tugged at my shirt. "Daddy," he whispered, eyes wide with fear. There are strange men in the house when you're at work. And just like that, the foundation of trust I had built over a decade shattered into a million pieces. Jane's odd behavior over the past few years, her frequent late-night phone calls, her insistence that I focus on work, all began to make sense. She'd been at it for years. I was blindsided. Now, I won't get into the messy details right now, but let's just say the unraveling of this web of deceit has been nothing short of a nightmare. But here's the thing, as horrible as it was to deal with at the time now, there's an unexpected relief. To those who've been through something similar, how did you cope? And for those of you itching for the juicy details and the fallout, hang tight. I'll be updating this post soon. Wish me luck, Reddit. Reading through the comments and messages of support from fellow Redditors was overwhelming. I never imagined so many of you had gone through something similar. Your advice, shared stories, and even the humorous anecdotes, thanks to those who reminded me that at least I still had the ice cream, were a salve on an open wound. But enough with the introspection. Let me delve right back into the thick of things. After Mike's revelation, I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. My first instinct was to confront Jane immediately, but remembering the advice my father once gave me, I decided to sleep on it. One thing was clear. I needed evidence. If things were to get messy, and trust me, it seemed they were heading in that direction. I wanted to be prepared. The next day, after dropping Mike off at school, I started my quest for the truth. Firstly, I reached out to a few close friends, testing the waters to see if any of them had heard or seen anything suspicious. To my surprise, my buddy, Tom, hesitated when I asked. After some cajoling, he finally confessed that he'd seen Jane out and about a few times with some guy. They always looked too close for comfort. I felt a pang in my chest, not just because of Jane, but because Tom hadn't told me sooner. The betrayal cut deep. With this tidbit of information, I went digital. I'm no hacker, but like many Redditors, I'm tech-savvy enough. I retrieved some old texts and call logs from Jane's phone and discovered frequent late night calls with a number not saved in her contacts. Even more damning, I found an app hidden in a folder labeled Work Stuff. It was one of those discreet dating apps, the kind designed to look like a mundane utility app on the surface. My heart raced as I logged into our shared cloud storage. There, amidst the innocuous family photos and holiday snaps, was a folder that Jane probably thought I'd never find. It was a treasure trove of evidence, photos, receipts from hotels, and more. The weight of the betrayal was staggering. The puzzle pieces were now forming a clear picture. Those business trips Jane occasionally went on, lies. The nights she'd go out with her girlfriends, fabrications. Every piece of the puzzle hurt more than the last, but I kept going, driven by a need for clarity and the truth. During this time, Mike became my anchor. We'd have guy nights, watching movies, playing video games, or just talking. It was clear that he sensed the change in the atmosphere at home. One night, as we were building a Lego fortress, he looked up with those innocent eyes and said, "Dad, whatever happens, we're a team, right?" It broke my heart and mended it all at once. Days turned into weeks. Armed with my newfound evidence, I consulted a lawyer. The reality of divorce, custody battles, and the potential fallout loomed large. My lawyer, a stern-looking woman with a reputation for being a shark in the courtroom, advised me to keep gathering more evidence and to prepare for the worst. It was draining, but I knew I had to do it for Mike. One evening, after Mike was asleep, I sat down with Jane. I didn't reveal everything I knew, but I hinted that I was onto her. Her reactions were a mix of defensiveness, guilt, and oddly, relief. It's like she'd been waiting for this confrontation, living on borrowed time. She confessed to feeling trapped in our marriage, how the spark had faded years ago. But instead of communicating or seeking therapy, she sought solace elsewhere. I listened, trying to understand, but the damage was done. There was no turning back. As the days progressed, the tension at home was palpable. We walked on eggshells around each other, and Mike, perceptive as ever, felt the shift. However, even in these challenging times, there were moments of clarity reminding me that life wasn't all bleak. The day I decided to confront Jane about everything, the evidence, the betrayal, the clandestine meetings, was a gloomy one, both literally and metaphorically. Rain tapped on our windows as if nature itself was lamenting our fractured relationship. As we sat across from each other at the dining table, the very place where we had shared countless meals, laughs, and dreams, the weight of the moment was undeniable. She started crying before I could even present the evidence. The floodgates opened and out poured a torrent of confessions, remorse, and raw pain. Jane admitted that her affair had been going on for more than 3 years with a coworker named Daniel. It started innocently, she said, just two people finding solace in each other's company during lunch breaks. But as the months turned to years, the emotional connection deepened, eventually leading to the physical affair. But here's the twist I didn't see coming. Daniel, the man she had been seeing, had suddenly passed away in a car accident just a month ago. The weight of the grief, combined with the guilt of betrayal, had been suffocating her. She had planned to tell me everything after his funeral, but couldn't muster the courage. The very day I came home with ice cream was the day she had returned from saying her final goodbye to him. I was a cocktail of emotions: anger, betrayal, disbelief, and unexpectedly, a touch of sympathy. Here was Jane, not just grappling with the guilt of cheating, but also mourning the loss of her lover. The universe had dealt her a cruel hand. But the revelations didn't stop there. Jane's voice, shaky yet determined, dropped the final bombshell. I'm pregnant, and I don't know who the father is. The room spun. I could hear my heartbeat echoing in my ears, each thump magnifying the pain and confusion. We had been trying for a second child before all of this mess. And now, the possibility that this child might not even be mine was excruciating. The next few weeks were a blur. We decided to go for a prenatal paternity test. Mike, sensing the turbulence at home, often retreated to his room, sketching or reading, seeking solace in his own world. When the test results arrived, my worst fears were confirmed. The child growing inside Jane was a living testament to her affair. Our marriage, already hanging by a thread, seemed unsalvageable. It was during this time that I stumbled upon an old journal in our attic. It was Jane's, filled with letters written to our unborn child. Page after page detailed her guilt, her love for Daniel, and her torment at the web of lies she had spun. The grief and self-loathing were palpable. But what struck me was her undeniable love for this unborn child and her determination to provide a good life, irrespective of the circumstances. We separated soon after. I couldn't bear to stay, not with the constant reminders of her betrayal. Jane moved out, and I stayed in our family home with Mike. The court battles for custody were brutal. In the end, Mike chose to stay with me, visiting Jane on weekends. Life post-divorce was a challenge. Mike, brave as ever, became more introspective, channeling his emotions into art. As for Jane, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl and named her Hope. An ironic name, considering the circumstances. I often wonder if there's a parallel universe where things worked out differently for Jane and me. A world where we confronted our problems head-on, sought therapy, and rebuilt our lives. But in this reality, the scars of betrayal ran too deep. So, Reddit, here's where I need your help. How do I help Mike process all this? How do I move on and maybe, someday, find love again? And for those who've been in my shoes, how did you rebuild your life after such a devastating betrayal? This story is over. What do you think about the story? What's your tips? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have any similar experiences or stories to share, we'd love to hear them. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more deep dives into the intriguing world of human experiences. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.